Hello everyone, this is Gabby and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today we're gonna do my February wrap-up and a little bit of what I'm going to read on March. I've been in a really weird mood lately, so I don't want to pressure myself on reading some books, so I'm just gonna read what I feel like. On February, I read 5 books and 1 short story. And this was a really particular month because I usually just read fantasy, but on February I felt like reading some classics, literary fiction, and 1 horror story that was really creepy. And I'm gonna start with that one. I read The Yellow Wallpaper by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. This is a horror story. It was written in the end of the 19th century. And I really liked it because it made me think about a bunch of stuff. It's a social commentary. It's actually considered now as a classic of feminist literature because it talks a lot about how women were treated in the 19th century, and it has a lot of interesting takes on it. It's about a couple that moved to a summer house for 3 months, I guess, and this woman has depression, and her husband is a doctor who thinks he knows what's best for her because of that, and he gives her a really strange treatment that is like her resting absolutely. She cannot read, she cannot write, she cannot see her own son, and the room she's locked in has a really horrid yellow wallpaper. And as the story progresses, her mental state starts to decay until everything unravels, and oh my god, it left me speechless. I actually made a little review on this book, so you can click the link in the corner or in the description down below if you want to check it out. As I said, I dove a little bit into classics this month, so I decided to read or listen to, actually, is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I've never read this book before, and I don't think I need to explain what it's about. Most people kind of have seen the movie or some play or actually read the book, but I adored it. It's absolute nonsense. I was transported to this crazy, insane world where nothing made sense whatsoever. There's so many like engaging characters. I love the Cheshire Cat. I love the Mad Hatter. I don't know how to talk about this book because it's just, I'm gonna just talk about my favorite scene because I think it's so hilarious, so funny, and it actually portrays the world pretty well. It's when these cards are painting the roses red because they made a mistake, and they planted white roses, and the Queen of Hearts has an obsession about cutting people's head off, and if she found out that they were white roses in her garden, she was going to freak out and probably cut their heads off. So they're like really nervous and painting these roses red, and I just find that so funny. I really recommend this book. It's wonderful, it's whimsical, it's fantastic, it's insane in a good way. Then I picked the audiobook of Animal Farm. I heard it in Spanish, so I'm not gonna say every name because usually Spanish translations change a lot of names, but I loved it. I hadn't picked it up for some reason, but I really like how it portrayed a lot of stuff that happened in the 20th century, especially in the Second World War and in the Soviet Union. It's basically a criticism of all these regimes in the 20th century that were totalitarian or authoritarian and made a lot of damage in society as a whole. It's about a farm where the animals decide to rebel against humans. They kick the farmer out and they take charge of the farm. The pigs are actually the ones that are the leaders of this revolution, and everything kind of goes well at the beginning. There's a lot of talk about equality, and in the first part of the book you actually feel like they're nailing it, like they're doing it really well. And then things start to get messy because the pigs, the leaders, start to corrupt themselves because of the power they have. And well, we all know what does that to a society. And then I decided to pick up From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Earl Armentrout. This didn't go well. I wanted a fantasy romance, and this was so well rated in Goodreads, so I decided to pick it up. I hated it with passion. I actually made a run review, so if you want to watch it, you can click in the link in the corner or in the description down below. This is about a girl named Poppy who is the maiden, the chosen by the gods for something in a world that we don't get much information about. At some point we meet this really hot and sexy guard named Hobb that makes her question about what does she want in life, if follow her duties and destiny or follow her heart and desires for this guy. There's not much plot in the story. It's mostly a lot of internal monologue of Poppy and her meandering around the castle. She does that a lot. I don't even know what her role in the story is, and we actually just know what the book is about in the last 50 pages. There's a lot of abusive relationship, romanticizing abusive relationships, and a lack of knowledge about consent. Anyway, I don't want to rant about it here. I already did it. I just don't recommend this book at all. Another book that I read this month was And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer by Fredrik Backman. This was my first literary fiction book in a while, and I picked it up because I follow this amazing booktuber. I just love her channel. Her name is Murphy Napier. She's super well known. If you haven't checked it out, I will link her channel in the description because she's amazing. And I've discovered that we have a similar taste in books, so she praises this book and this author so much that I decided to pick it up. And it hurt me. This book is so good. It's a novella. It has like 100 pages or so. It's super short, but so full of emotion. It struck me so much. I cried from start to finish. It is about an old man trying to hold on his memories while he has Alzheimer, and he starts to lose himself. And it's about the interaction that this man has with his family in all of this process. It's sad, it's painful, and it's beautiful at the same time, because I think that this author, Fredrik Backman, knows so well how to portray human nature and human emotions and grief. And this book hurt me. If you're looking for a book to cry on, I really recommend it. And if you're looking for a really good literary fiction, I recommend it as well. I loved it. I'm really looking forward to read more of Fredrik Backman's work. The last book that I read this month was Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I actually read this book as a buddy read with Allison from Book Bench. I will link her channel in the description. Check it out. She's awesome. And we made a live chat on her channel, so I will put the link in the corner if I can do it. I don't know. And in the description down below if you want to check it out. I didn't do so well in that live chat because I got really nervous, and I read the book in Spanish, so translating everything was kind of hard. But she does amazing, so go watch it. The story follows a boy named Fitz, who is the illegitimate son of a really respected prince named Chivalry, in a world where all the nobility is called by its qualities. It's quite unique. I really like that. It gives it like some fairy tale-esque vibe. This is a coming of age sort of story told in first person, which is not my jam usually, but this one, Robin Hobb's writing is really cool. So the story is mainly following Fitz. We see the world through his eyes, and he deals with stuff. Actually, with Allison, we discussed and we decided that this book could be renamed as Poor Fitz because, man, this boy suffers so much throughout the entire book. I actually rated this book with 3.5 stars, which I wasn't expecting because this is such a well-loved book. But I found myself pushing through this book for the first half. The second half was really, really good and really interesting, and the pace gets a little bit faster, but the first chunk is super slow. And like, usually that wouldn't matter so much to me if our main character, because this is a first person story, if our main character was interesting. But I felt like every character was really, really well developed except for Fitz, and that kind of wore me down. Still, this is a really good book. It's so well written. I loved Robin Hobb's prose. It's a really classic fantasy sort of story. So if you like classic fantasy, I really think you're gonna enjoy this book. I still really recommend it. I am actually planning to go on with the series because people say it gets so much better. So that was my February wrap up. Now let's go with my March TBR. I plan on keep going with The Eye of the World, the first book in the Wheel of Time. This is a 14-book story, so I'm kind of taking my time with the first book. I'm actually getting used to Jordan's writing. It's a little bit descriptive, but it's the plot, the characters are really promising, so I'm really looking forward to continue reading that one. Then on March 12th, I'm gonna start a buddy read with David's book reviews. I will link his channel in the description. You should check him out. He's amazing and he's a really cool person. We're gonna read The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. This is the first book in the First Law trilogy, and I'm really excited to start this book. I've been seeing so much praise for Joe Abercrombie's character work that I just want to dive into it. And totally neglecting my TBR, I started rereading The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is my favorite book of all time, and I just found an excuse to reread it because Jay from Captured in Words is hosting a read-along on his Discord server. And I just went for it. I'm loving it, and I just started it, and I'm actually enjoying it more than the first time. If you haven't checked Jay's channel, please do. He's amazing. His content is awesome, and his editing is even better. I will link his channel in the description. Then, if my mood allows me, I will start with the Discord series by Terry Pratchett. I actually want to start with Small Gods, which is a sort of standalone, something like that, or with Guards. I don't know yet. I just know that I really want to dive into that series because I've been hearing so much praise about it, and it's a classic. So that was all for my February wrap-up and my March sort of TBR. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up, ring the bell, and click on the subscribe button. I will be posting on Mondays and Thursdays. Thank you guys and see you soon.